The idea was today, Mark is sitting at the helm. He's got the computer and stuff. So he's done a presentation with your brigade in Rotorua, right? It's resilience and stuff. And I had that sort of guilt or whatever it was of not being there, not being with my crew. And I know just recently with the stuff at the Mount, so that was like a big significant event for the watch that was on at the time.
And he identified a lot of issues that firefighters were facing internationally, like higher rates of depression and suicide, anxiety, PTSD, all that kind of stuff, not good. And I had a quote from Homer Simpson in my presentation. It was, to alcohol, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems.
It's literally finding those simple, small wins.
Sometimes you've got to hunt for them.
The hill behind us fell down, but we painted it again.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games.
Yeah, sweet. Well, welcome everyone. Great to have you all here. Mark and Joe, both of you have already been on, so I don't need to introduce too much, but I'm really looking forward to it. The idea was today, Mark is sitting at the helm. He's got the computer and stuff, so he's done a presentation with your brigade in Rotorua, right? It's resilience and stuff. And
Yeah, awesome. So I put together a wellness workshop kind of thing. So a few years ago when I was in Tauranga, we had Andy Chappelle came around and he was doing tours of the stations and doing sort of these wellness presentations. And then a few years passed and there was nothing. And so I asked about it, and it sounded like it was kind of a budgetary thing, unfortunately. So nothing else happened. And we do have a few sort of things in place. Obviously, we all, as firefighters, know about the manners model based on the Victoria Ambulance Service, but it's not something that's on our OSM task list. It's not something that we're required to constantly brush up on. So I thought, well, maybe could put some kind of training together that incorporates that and some other resilience ideas. So I think for us historically as firefighters, a lot of the mental health side of things has been quite reactive. We're pretty good at sort of saying, or we've gotten better at saying, someone's sort of dealing with PTSD, or look out for the signs of PTSD, and how we can use that manners model to sort of restore ourselves more to, back to normalcy, to how we were prior, if we're struggling with depression or anxiety. But we're not so good maybe at sort of preempting certain things. And by that I mean we don't really talk about building resilience as a training session. We and that's sort of how you build it into your day-to-day lives going forward, so that when something bad does happen, you have more tools in place to deal with it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think it's awesome. And as you say, it's probably something we do reactively, but don't really promote the proactivity around it. So good on you for, have you put together your own sort of thing or got the tools together?
So I mean, just using various different resources. I mean, the first thing was to sort of, because you do have a variety of people that you're potentially presenting to, and some people are more resistant, and some people, older school people, some people are more, open to it. So you have to sort of, you sort of have to cater to everybody, and that can be a bit of a challenge. So I think the first thing was identifying that we as firefighters or frontline emergency service staff are more susceptible to certain types of things. And so I found this essay that Josh Darby, who's a firefighter in Auckland, had written called "Why Are We 360?" And he did a lot of research. I haven't actually met him personally, but there's a lot of good information in there. And he identified a lot of issues that firefighters were facing internationally, like higher rates of depression and suicide, anxiety, PTSD, all that kind of stuff. So by showcasing that, not making it a point of emphasis, but just to say, hey, we are more susceptible, so maybe it is worth a conversation. I thought that was a good place to start. And so consequently, because of that, we had the whānau Natanga surveys, which basically showed that we follow similar kind of trends to firefighters internationally. We don't have a lot of that, the research in New Zealand just yet, but those, the surveys kind of showed that our thinking is kind of in line, with where we are internationally. And another aspect of that was basically for those who think maybe they're a bit grumpy or that they're a little bit different to how they might usually act, but tend to ignore it or go the old school swallow a concrete pill and everything will be all right kind of thing. Just wanted to highlight the effects that PTSD can potentially have on family members, and that there's wives of frontline service workers and children who wives can get PTSD, and kids unfortunately bear the brunt of it as well. If there's a lot of negativity in the household and
coming home and unloading things that maybe you shouldn't be as well.
Absolutely. That was just sort of the background to it.
Very cool.
And then, did you want to go into the manners model at all, or it's probably something that you've discussed at other times?
I don't think we've actually discussed it on here before. If it's part of your thing, man, like definitely go for it. Understand. Yeah.
Well, I just thought, I'll just mention it quickly because it's something that we do use as firefighters, and obviously it was developed by the Victorian Ambulance Service, so it is quite valuable. So it's that psychological first aid for critical incident exposure. So the manners is the acronym. So minimising exposure is the first major one for us. If we go to an incident and there's a death at an incident and you don't have to see it, why expose yourself to it? You'll find that a lot of young guys go and run up and are quite curious about what's going on, but I think it's not one of those things that you need to necessarily see. I was quite lucky once that we went to a cot death when I was a firefighter in Kauro, and had a really good SO, and he just got the whole crew to wait outside. There was nothing we could do. He just dealt with the family, he dealt with the situation, and I think that's just a sign of really good leadership. Obviously going through the acronym just quickly, you have to acknowledge the events, so acknowledge that it's not what we're going to isn't something normal for us to see, and normalizing reactions. It's like it's okay for us to be upset coming across things. I mean, especially for those of us who have kids, it's anytime you're involved in those kinds of incidents,
hits home a bit harder.
Absolutely, yeah. And you might be at different stages of your life, and you come across people who remind you of certain people in your family or loved ones, and then educate is required. So allowing yourself to sort of be to talk to people and to sort of maybe get advice from people who've already been in those situations. And then restore, review, refer if you need to see someone, if it's something that stays with you, and then self-care. So just that ongoing treatment, which is again what we'll go into with the resilience concepts.
That's awesome.
I
think it's one thing that talking to a few guys yesterday, in that episode, we brought up that whole as far as normalizing reactions go. It's like, because acknowledging the event, we acknowledge that nothing that we're exposed to, I suppose, is normal, which then I guess makes any reaction normal because you know, like it's it's quite interesting, you know, that doesn't however you respond, however you react to that exposure, it's normal, you know, like that's because it is so different.
And people and everyone reacts differently as well.
Yeah,
exactly.
People are at different stages of their lives.
There's no rhyme or reason why something should affect you or could affect you, and you shouldn't be upset about that either. Like you shouldn't be putting that pressure on yourself to react stoically to something that was obviously triggering. Like sometimes you don't even know why it triggers you, but it does, and you need to understand, kind of go through that process of understanding it and not put that pressure on to pretend that it's all sweet when it's not.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the minimising exposure, I'd be interested to hear your guys' take on this. I definitely agree with it, and I understand the heart behind it. But probably the one incident I probably struggled with the most was an incident that I wasn't there for. So my crew attended, you know, like there was the one day, I can't even remember why. I think I'd done a purple shift, so taken the last night off, and I'd gone home early. And then that night that I wasn't with my crew, they attended an incident that was like sort of one of those incidents that forged your crew in a way, you know, like it's what. And I had that sort of guilt or whatever it was of not being there, not being with my crew. And I know just recently with the stuff at the Mount, obviously that was like a big significant event for the watch that was on at the time. And speaking to a few of the guys who weren't there for various reasons, all legitimate reasons, that weren't on watch that day, but their regular crew was, that guilt sort of stuck with them for a while. So minimising exposure and the difference between that and, I suppose, still that
camaraderie and
that guilt of when you're not with your crew.
Yeah.
Is that something you guys...
I feel like that's slightly different. Like as in regard to what you said about the cop death, like that was an officer stopping the crew from going in. It was already there.
Yeah.
And there was no need to see that situation.
Yeah.
I think what you're talking about is more that situation where you feel helpless that you weren't there with your crew when something major happened to be a part of it and almost the debrief or help them understand. Like you feel, because your crew becomes your family.
Yeah.
And with anyone's family, if they go through a massive event and you're not there, you'd feel pretty horrible.
Yeah.
So I think it's the same when your crew goes through it and you're not on that day. You still have that, I don't know, it is, you feel for them a lot more. Because if you're there, you can kind of go through it and you can debrief and everything's kind of fine. But if you're not there, you kind of don't understand how it happened, what happened, or...
Yeah, that's right.
If everyone's okay.
Yeah.
And you kind of don't want to step on anyone's toes and bring it all back up either.
That's right.
So I think that's probably the problem.
I think that's sometimes when people say, "Oh, minimize exposure," but then I have that but I gotta be with my team. You know, like I struggle to sort of separate the two sometimes. I think.
But there's different aspects of being at the job. Like, so for instance, if we go to a motor vehicle crash. There's those who are immediately dealing with the patients in the car, and then there's those in the support sector. You're still with your team. You don't have if you're not immediately dealing with those patients, you don't need to look in the window and see the carnage.
Yeah, right.
That's unfortunately those who are on the tools will see that carnage.
Yeah.
But if you're in the support sector, you're still helping.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily have to.
Just in a different way.
Yeah.
It's the same as being the pump operator, isn't it? Like you're the driver at a fire. You get to the fire. Sometimes you're parking on the road. The fire's down a long driveway. Yeah. All you're doing is standing at the pump.
Yeah.
Like feeding water to it, and you have no idea what's happening inside. And you kind of just want to be like, damn, I really want to be doing something, but this job's super important, so I need to be here.
Yeah, for sure.
That's true. That's a good way of framing it. I like that.
Yeah.
It's helpful.
I think as firefighters, we all just want to be doing something impactful.
Yeah.
And sometimes we all feel a bit helpless if we're not getting, or we're not in the role for that day.
Yeah.
Of being right in the thick of it. And you kind of almost, you want to be in the thick of it so no one else has to be in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Like you're almost trying to minimize it for someone else by taking it on yourself. But we're all very similar, so we're all trying to,
like, no.
We're all trying to do that for each other. But
Yeah. That's a good way of framing it.
So it is something. If you don't need to be exposed to it as much as you want to help out, sometimes it's best not to be exposed to it, and then you could probably help them by debriefing or having a yarn about it afterwards.
Yeah. And I think if you are exposed to it, I think the best officers will always have that hot debrief and then have a follow-up, maybe even another follow-up, just to make sure that everyone's all right.
Yeah.
Again, you have old school people like, everyone's all right? Yeah, sweet. Okay. And then that's it.
Let's never talk about it again.
That's the hot debrief, you know, but I think also you kind of get to know your crew a bit. I think some people you work with, might be more susceptible to certain things or more sensitive than other people. And that's not a knock on them. We just all have different personalities,
Absolutely.
I think, hopefully most good leaders would recognize that. From there, just talked about a little bit about adaptive versus maladaptive coping mechanisms. So, most of us like to have a beer every now and then, but if we notice that we're sort of drinking more or, some people might go to drugs or, the hygiene might sort of change and stuff like that. You might sort of notice that about people, and you can, even if you don't notice it about yourself, there's sort of certain signs that people aren't adapting as they could be. Obviously it's fine if you've had a bad day to have a beer, but if that then becomes a habit and you're sort of drinking every night to deal with something, obviously it's not good. And I had a quote from Homer Simpson in my presentation. It was to alcohol, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems. So, I thought that was pretty good.
That's deep. It is one of those things that can be used as a tool, but then if it's used, if it becomes a tool that you're using every day to deal with that same problem, then it's not fixing the result, is it?
No, absolutely. Yeah. And so going more into the resilience concepts. So the first thing I looked at was the Mental Health Foundation. They've got these 5 ways to well-being, which I thought were really good. And they're just sort of things that you can do more, I suppose, in your own life, day-to-day lives. And it's like giving. We all know that sort of it's a good feeling to give your time, your words, your presence to people. Being active, we as firefighters, Olympic athlete, we know more than most that being active is invaluable to our mental health. If we don't train, we don't feel good. There's a clear correlation between body and mind. Keeping learning is another thing. You don't want to get complacent in life. You don't want to come to work, sit on a lazy boy and just that be it, because then you'll get yourself into a bad rut. So embracing new experiences, taking up new tasks and that kind of thing. Like life is continuous learning. It's not okay, I know it all now. That's it, I'm done.
Pretty close.
Strive to get there. One day it'll click.
And then obviously connecting with people is an important one. I think a lot of us, if you're sort of naturally prone to being introverted, you can sort of shy away sometimes. Like if you're not in a good headspace, I know that I certainly get that way sometimes. And so sort of being connected, talking to friends, making plans, that's those are big things. If you find that you're not doing that anymore, then obviously you might be in a bit of a pickle. And then taking notice was the other one that the Mental Health Foundation had, which is quite a nice one. It's like going outside and looking up at the sky and seeing a nice cloud, going for a walk in the forest and having a look at the shape of a leaf or something. Just one of those things, like just appreciating the world around you. And that's something that sometimes we're just really busy and we don't do, you know. But everyone's got a park or something nearby or something they enjoy, water. You know, there's something that they can do to sort of just notice, just take a breather, and
it's almost grounding yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I thought those were pretty cool concepts. So yeah, I started off just, you know, delving into those a little bit. And then just went into some, you know, some more ideas for resilience concepts. So obviously, you and I talked before about the resilience project.
The resilience project,
yeah.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
This guy, Hugh Van Cuylenburg, he wrote this book, The Resilience Project. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Joe.
Sounds good.
But he basically he was a school teacher and noticed that kids were really struggling with their mental health, and just, you know, like young children who you would think, you know, we remember back to our childhoods when you were sort of carefree and everything was great, you know, like you didn't have all these pressures of the world, but, you know, it seems to be getting younger and younger. And so he started this school program essentially, which got bigger and bigger, and then he started presenting it to professional sports teams and that kind of thing. And it was basically real simple concepts, but just about practicing gratitude, which we kind of touched on a little bit before, empathy, and mindfulness. So for the gratitude one, he taught in India for a while, and came across these kids who were just super happy every day. They had next to nothing, no toys, nothing, no clothes. And it's, you know, just, it sounds cliched, but it's just amazing that people who don't know about what there is out there can be grateful for what they have in front of them. And so that's one of those things. He talked about Martin Seligman, who's the founder of positive psychology. And one of his ideas was, if you go home at the end of every night and write down 3 things that went well that day, within a month your brain will start to, if you go from negative thinking to more positive thinking, within a month your brain will sort of start to rewire, and you'll naturally throughout the day start noticing things that, you know, you appreciate. So yeah, I tried that before and it was actually quite good.
Cool.
I did it when I was staying like in the mount a while ago, so everything was pretty good anyway. But I thought, you know, like I was in the mount with my family, everything was, it was like, so I like that as a concept, you know.
It is great, like, and all that stuff that you just covered as well from the Mental Health Foundation, was it? Sorry.
Yeah.
And what that resilience project focuses on, I really like it, because it's sort of taking those concepts that I think, I'm sure you would have come across it doing stuff like this. You know, a lot of people in our sort of line of work, I suppose, hear about this stuff and like, oh no, it's all, you know, sort of tree huggy or too mamby-pamby sort of for them, and you hear about it in a lot of the places it comes from. And you can totally understand why, because it does, you know, a lot of, you know, I suppose even the terminology and stuff around it can be quite off-putting and almost come from, you know,
textbook.
Yeah. Whereas these things totally highlights how it's strength, you know, like these foundations build resilience, and resilience is strength. And I think that's what I really like about Hugh and the way he presents it, is like, yes, it's these things, you know, mindfulness and gratitude and stuff that maybe don't sound like, you know, hugely strong things, but the way he portrays it really does come across as from you know, that foundation of strength that anyone can build. If you got like whatever, I guess it depends on what you believe in, but it challenges those foundations of what are you standing on, and building a strong foundation for strength. And hearing a team like Melbourne Storm and Billy Slater and stuff talking about these tools, and, you know, like one of the most macho sort of sports you can sort of imagine, and these massive athletes like lapping it up and taking it in and building it as part of their foundation of what makes them perform well. I think it's a really cool story to hear. So yeah, absolutely.
I think you'll find the most elite teams now, that's a norm.
Yeah.
Like even talking to the All Blacks,
Yeah.
they practice all of that stuff. And then all of the Super Rugby teams, like they're all, every game I've had the opportunity of being with the Marcos and meeting some of the All Blacks as well. But like first thing they do when they get up in the morning when they're having breakfast is they talk about what their values are, what they're aiming to achieve, how they're going to deal with setbacks and stuff. Like from the start of the day, and then they do it again at lunchtime, and they even do proper sessions the day of the game. About how they're going to deal with it and what their goals are, not just for performing, but for their mental health and their resilience during the game.
Yeah,
awesome.
Because you notice it in sport. I've noticed it more than I've ever realised. Like just watching a tennis game.
Sure.
And like you have a bad set or something, and you lose a point, and you can see them,
especially
the mental resilience of them. You can see them. You can see them wane, and then sometimes they'll lose more points, and then when they get one back, the levels of their emotions, like during one game, which can go for like 3 or 4 hours, is incredible. So,
I'm listening to Dan Carter's book, The Art of Winning, at the moment, and I've just finished the resilience chapter, which is kind of funny that we're having this conversation. But he was talking about that as far as like, in a game, everyone goes into red brain. It's not it's not a matter of being able to stay out of red brain. It's a matter of how quickly and efficiently can you get back into the blue. And that's quite an interesting chapter. But awesome.
And I think it's obviously that's just modern sports as well, right? And it's quite good that you get people who, like John Kerwin, break that glass ceiling and kind of say, hey, we're not all okay. There are those of us who struggle, and so it gets built into it more. Like for instance, I'm a POM, so the English football team, every tournament always gets knocked out in penalty shootouts every time, and it became a massive psychological barrier. And so our last coach got a team psychologist in to talk them through it, and they were just practice and practice and practice. And they actually won a couple of games.
Yes! Still hasn't come home.
Still not won a tournament. Still waiting, unfortunately. But it is what it is. We'll get there maybe one day in my lifetime. But so going back to those concepts from the Resilience Project. So for the gratitude one, I sort of set different tasks for different things. I set a homework task at the end of the presentation just to see if people, because it's great, like giving people something, but then if there's no follow up or if there's nothing to take home from it, then people will just kind of forget about it and that'll be it. So so with the gratitude one, like give it a go, writing down those 3 things at the end of the day that went well. And I think a few people did. And then for empathy, we kind of talked about, the brain releases oxytocin when we carry out an act of kindness for someone else, because we're naturally social people. Well, as people, we're naturally social. Even though we might have selfish traits, we still sort of, live within a society. And so we carried out an empathy task where just sitting around the room, everyone pulled a name out of the hat, and I asked them to write 3 things that they liked or respected about the person whose name they pulled out of the hat. And fortunately, everyone knew each other, so it wouldn't have worked too well otherwise. And people did, and as the things were being read out, you could see like happiness emanating from people. And I asked, like, were you happier hearing the things that were said about you, or were you happier writing the things about someone else? And most people were happier writing the things about someone else, because they felt like they were doing like bigging someone up who, it's like we don't, as blokes, so much say, hey, I really respect you. Hey, I love you. So it was quite a cool little exercise.
Is it something you want to do now?
What now?
Yeah. I mean,
what? Right now.
Is it something you could run now?
Well, there's only 3 of us, so it wouldn't work too well.
It's pretty tight.
Joe and I don't know each other so well.
Levi just really wants to hear something nice about it.
Levi's like, tell me I'm amazing.
Never mind.
Best podcaster in the Bay of Plenty. But yeah. And then obviously the mindfulness one, and that's one that this is where I'm pretty weak on, if I'm honest. It's one of these things that I always mean to do and then never get around to doing. But people talk about the benefits of it all the time, like how it changes them, and like if you're struggling with anxiety or something like that, and you listen to mindfulness or you practice it by yourself, and it just sort of centers you and brings you back. It's not necessarily that sort of what's it called, like meditation. It's more sort of just being present and focusing on your breath and all that kind of stuff, and that doesn't necessarily work for some people. It's one of those things where if your mind wanders off, it does take practice. But we just talked about other forms of breath work as well. So like the Navy SEALs had a few different ones, like box breathing. I don't know if you guys have come across that, but
box breathing,
yeah. So that seems to be pretty popular, like if in a stressful situation. So if anyone who doesn't know, it's 4 breaths in, hold your breath for 4 seconds, 4 breaths out, hold your breath for 4 seconds, and then just that in that sort of box. And it's it's meant to be good for stressful situations. One of the things I cited for that was actually, I don't know if you guys have watched it, but Chris Hemsworth's Limitless series.
I've watched some of them. Yeah, not all of them. Yeah.
There was
interesting stuff.
Yeah. There was an episode there where they chucked him in a fire service training.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he was exposed to live fire without, wearing BA and all that stuff for the first time without any training for it. So obviously it would be quite stressful, Yeah. For us, we have 3 months of build up, but
yeah, that's right.
So it's quite an interesting show anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's meant to have all sorts of benefits as well, that it can help with depression, anxiety, PTSD, and even chronic pain, mindfulness. So a lot of people swear by it, and I definitely need to give it more of a go for myself. Is it something that you guys have practiced?
It is not something I've practiced, but it is definitely something I should practice.
Yeah.
I think, personally, being a faith-based person, all those sort of principles are they play out quite a lot in a faith anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. No, that's
service.
That makes
How's that? A faith-based person, it is something that probably, I feel like listening to that Resilience Project book, I'm like, man, this guy's gone out and sought all this stuff and found it's actually quite biblical stuff, in a way.
Yeah.
So that's quite cool.
And it's not, but what's good is that it's not necessarily just biblical or not necessarily just Christian as well. For instance, like the kids that he came across in India were Buddhists.
Yeah,
they
that's
were
right.
In the north of India, so different religions. So it's great that it's concepts that can work for different religions, but also people who
principles, right?
Also people who don't, necessarily have those beliefs.
Yeah.
And again, we're not, not being political or anything.
100%.
Ultimately, we're all just people. But some other concepts just added onto it was setting goals was one of them. So I looked at that, through that positivepsychology.com, saying that goal setting provides a sense of purpose and direction that gives individuals a roadmap to follow, and it's sort of setting achievable goals helps build motivation and self-esteem. So again, that's one of those things that if we practice in our day-to-day life, when something hits the fan, if we can sort of go back to that, then it's one of those concepts that can help us.
Yeah.
Taking one step at a time, that's a big one. I think a lot of people, when faced with a task, tend to sort of, oh wow.
Thank you, Jordan. That's so cool.
Nice.
You can attend whenever you want.
I think she's thought it's a podcast but forgot about the camera.
Oh, not a problem.
That's fine. Thank you.
I've lost my train of thought there. You're right. So yeah, just as another sort of resilience concept is that a lot of us, when we sort of take on a challenge, we take on too much of the challenge all at one go, or start thinking about the end goal and get a little bit overwhelmed.
That's literally every time I do something.
and then you sort of, and then quite often we won't take on a project because we're like, oh, there's so many things I need to think about and get done, and you just don't. So you get decision paralysis. That's something that affects a lot of people. So it's just sort of about breaking things down into smaller, more manageable tasks. And again, it's kind of like the goal setting, you just sort of give yourself achievable things every day. There's a quote from this Admiral William H. McRaven, who was an ex-Navy SEAL, and it said, if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed, which I thought was pretty good, because it's like, well, start off right, and then everything becomes more manageable.
Yeah.
Other concepts, positive reframing. So sometimes I think we get stuck, especially parenting, I find, is a prime example. Thinking about all the things that we have to do and getting frustrated about what we have to do rather than focusing on what we get to do, and that's sort of a big part of the positive reframing. It's like, well, I get to go and pick my kid up from school now because I have a kid. Yeah. My kid's well, he's happy, like that kind of thing. Whereas sometimes the daily chores are like, oh man, this is just tedious.
Yeah.
And I kind of likened it to the legend of Sisyphus. He's this Greek legend who has to push a boulder up a hill for all of eternity. And every time it gets to the top, it rolls back down and you start pushing it up again. And sometimes we get stuck.
Inspirational.
We get stuck with that kind of mentality where we just feel like we're all constantly pushing a boulder up the hill. But if we, sort of reframe things to, like what we get to do rather than what we have to do, and back ourselves with certain tasks, then it helps.
Yeah. I think I heard recently, I don't know where it came from, but it was pretty much saying what a privilege it is to be stressed about the things that we've always wanted in life and now have.
Yeah, that's so true, right?
When you didn't have kids, and luckily for me, like we have some amazing kids now, but it is exactly like you said, like you're like, oh shit, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. But if you do reframe it and you realise that picking them up is amazing, and I heard on another podcast recently that love is spelt Time.
Yeah.
To a child.
Who's Tim?
Yeah. To a child, it doesn't matter about all the toys and the crap and the expensive things and the holidays that you get them. Yeah. All they care about at the end of the day is that you were there with them while they were growing, and
that's awesome.
It makes it pretty, like, it changes the mindset really quickly when you think like that.
Yeah.
Instead of this is a chore, it takes it away and strips it back immediately, and it just becomes that basic relationship of being there for them.
What's that song from back in the day, Cats in the Cradle, about dad not having time for the kid, and and then by the time the kid grows up, he doesn't have time for the dad because they just didn't have that relationship. So it's obviously
cool.
really important.
Sorry to sideline there.
No,
That's all right.
that's
I'm happy to hear more about Tim.
Yeah. Did I forget the E?
No, I'm just being smart. Another concept. Another concept.
That's cool, man. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, my bad.
Love is Tim.
And it's kind of along the same lines as positive reframing, and it's about embracing failure. And obviously, for yourself, you would probably know better than most that you can't put so much pressure on yourself. And there's that awesome quote from Michael Jordan. Also, a really good documentary. Have you guys seen Last Dance? Definitely highly recommend it. And he said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." And that's
huge.
pretty profound, eh?
Yeah.
That's
Coming
like,
from one of the most renowned athletes in the world in history.
yeah.
And,
Best basketball player of all time. Forget about LeBron.
I like kind of going with that, but like in sport, I found the more pressure I put on myself, the more stressed I got. But then when I stripped it back to just doing the sport that I loved and having fun with it, it made it so much easier. And I succeeded way more when I was just having fun.
Yeah.
And you can, like, it doesn't reduce the stress completely. You're always going to be stressed and you're always going to be on edge. And I think, again, that's a privilege to be in that position, to be like nervous and to be stressed about what you're about to do. But like when you strip it back to the basics and you just make everything simple, like life becomes simple again and becomes so much more achievable as well.
And you get that sort of childlike enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
Like why you started doing it in the first place rather than,
Because I guess as you got more elite, it turned into more of a job, and like you start buying a house and then you've got pressures to pay bills, and then you need to succeed, so then you get the payments and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it was sport and it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's so simple. And as soon as you strip it back, it just became simplistic again. And I don't know, it became fun again, which is nice.
Yeah. I think it was. I'm a bit of a motorsport fan, and just last weekend there was the Bathurst 12-hour, and one of the key contenders, and one of the guys I follow quite closely, crashed out, and I've only read about it, but when he was asked basically how are you feeling about the crash, it sounds like he's just sort of responded with this is motorsport, this is what we love. I'm racing on Mount Panorama kind of thing, had no complaints about the crash at all. He was a front runner and all the rest of it, but he didn't complain about the crash. He was like, how cool is this kind of thing, And I was like, that's quite a cool perspective. Obviously, it's quite experienced now, but a lot of it's easy to get hot under the collar and all passionate in that moment. But he was just like, what a day, I'm racing in the Bathurst 12-hour. I'm not complaining. It's quite cool.
Absolutely.
It was really cool.
That's that, positive framing as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. And I'm just running out of time, but I've just got two final concepts that we talked about. One is obvious sense of humor, and that's obviously big for us as firefighters. We have that dark sense of humor. That's how we deal with a lot of the things that we come across. And a quote from Jimmy Carr that said, if we laugh at the darkest of things, it stops those things from having power over us. And I think quite often with those stand-up comedians, they're like, we make jokes about things that are we're not laughing at those things, we're making jokes about those things. It's the jokes that are funny, it's not the sad situations or the people, and I think a lot of them make a point of emphasis about that. I had a picture of Ray Gun there doing her thing, the last Olympics.
There's an infamous moment now.
Yeah, infamous. And the final one, and the final concept I had for resilience was acceptance. And I have a quote that's actually a biblical quote. I took the God bit out of it, sorry. And it's the Serenity Prayer, so which you'd probably be familiar with, which is grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So I think a lot of the time we get bogged down in stuff that we have absolutely no control over, and we just need to be able to separate what we can control in our lives and what we can't, and accept the things that we can't. And another concept I had was from there's a documentary on Netflix called Stutz. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's Jonah Hill, the actor. He basically loved his psychiatrist so much that he decided he wanted to make a documentary about him.
Sorry.
So the documentary is about him, and one of the things that he came up with, and it sounds quite sad, but it's reality, and there's certain things that we know as people that we have to deal with, and there's three aspects of reality that we can't avoid, and that's pain, uncertainty, and constant work. And if we accept that those are parts of reality, we will lose loved ones, we will have tragic situations, we will have setbacks. As long as we sort of accept those things and move on, then we'll be more resilient in our day-to-day lives.
For sure.
Yeah. So other than that, I gave people, the list of resources. Just to remind everyone what we have for ourselves, our counselling services, the hotlines. We as firefighters are quite lucky that we can we can talk to the well-being advisors and get referrals for psychologists. And then I set my homework tasks for everyone in the session. Some of them obviously they're optional. I didn't make everyone do them. But some of them are pretty obvious, like exercising a minimum of 20 minutes a day, which we do anyway. The one that we talked about before, writing down 3 things that went well at the end of every day, sort of start changing our brain chemistry. Going with the empathy things, performing a random act of kindness every day. It doesn't have to be a massive gesture, even if it's just buying like a homeless kid a pie outside a shop or something. Practicing mindfulness or breath work, which again I need to do more of. Learning something new and practicing it. And then I set these for the month, so it was relinquishing a vice like alcohol, gambling, or an unhealthy snack for a month, just to see how we went without it.
I could do without
that was the main ones.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man.
Very good. Good on you. And I think just good on you for just bringing this forward, right? Because we could probably do an episode on each of those points. That's significant, and good on you for bringing it to your brigade and bringing it out. I really appreciate it.
Can we get a copy of it?
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to do it more, but it's one of those things where when it comes to these things, especially because I'm not a mental health professional, you feel like you don't want to draw a line between being pushy and saying, hey, I've got these great ideas, and sort of wanting to help people. It's so unfortunately I haven't done that much with it, but I would be keen to obviously do more with it.
You just need to do disclaimer saying I'm not a professional, but take or leave what you want out of this.
Yeah, pretty much.
Everyone's a big kid now. They can.
That's it.
They can take it on board or not.
Yeah, you're right.
But
I want to respect the fact that you have to go and pick up your.
Yeah.
You can. Yeah. Thanks heaps for doing what you have done. If you need to cut away, you just cut away, and we can wrap up if you like.
Awesome. Yeah. Cheers. Thank you.
Good on you, man.
Sweet.
Thanks
See you
heaps,
guys,
man. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Yeah, I really love that. I think it's cool that it's coming into our world, right? Because as you say, it's so prominent in sports and that sort of area of performance. But I think it could be so helpful in our workplace as well, right?
Yeah, I love that he's just taken this on board himself.
Yeah.
And then presented it to his crew. Everything is brought out or pointed out to is hugely impactful.
Yeah.
And can be used for anyone. It's just having the courage to get it out there.
Yeah.
Like, there's always going to be pushback in the fire service, and that's slowly waning. I think that's slowly disappearing when people are realizing how good this stuff helps. And it doesn't all have to be for you. And yes, some of the words can be like gratitude can put people off, but you can reframe it to like what makes you happy. Like, what makes other people happy and why you're doing it.
And understanding that it's those foundational pieces that actually make you stronger.
And even the hardest of men who think they're tough and that have all struggled, but at the end of the day, what they're doing is for their family, and they're trying to make other people happy. So no matter what they say, they're actually trying to do all of they're literally trying to do all of these things without consciously knowing it. So just because someone's put a word behind it, I think it's a positive change, and it's a culture that we should embrace way more.
Do you have any thoughts, Jordan, from what you heard?
Are we along the track of trying to find happiness or just joy in some really sometimes crappy days?
It's just using tools to almost stop the crappy coming in.
Yeah, cool.
And also when it happens, trying to reprogram yourself to not stay in that zone for too long.
Yeah, sure.
I think what Mark's sort of bringing forward is like being really proactive about mental health, of like not waiting for everything to fall apart or and all that sort of stuff, but actually building things into your daily routine and using tools that have been proven to improve that foundation. That means when the storm comes, it's a lot more difficult to be shaken, I suppose.
What a cool cause.
Yeah, definitely.
Whenever the massive weather events that happened recently, it was pretty hard to find some positives out of that day. But I don't know if you remember, Joe, what we did. So it rained and there was everything was just soaking wet. And the next day it started shining and we thought, oh, well, what can we do about that? Well, the fence was nice and clean because of all the weather events. And we finally painted the fence. We made good out of it.
Absolutely, reframe. That's awesome. I love it.
It's literally finding those simple, small wins.
Sometimes you've got to hunt for them, but
the hill behind us fell down, but we painted our fence. So
that's cool. I like it. Something I forgot to do at the start of the episode. Yesterday's panel left a question for you. So I should have asked it at the start. But the question is, what's the dumbest thing you've ever done at work that's allowed to be online?
Isn't like funny dumb or
funny dumb?
Serious dumb?
Whatever way you want to go with it.
Do you think we should put this in now, or should we put this into another one? I feel like it's slightly off task.
Probably is. The point is to then pass on a question to the next panel as well.
Yeah,
so we should
quite well.
Yeah.
The dumbest thing that I've done at work.
I struggle with this one because
I've done plenty of dumb stuff, but the one that came to mind, and it's almost a bit sad and a little bit serious, but like we were at the slip the other day. I'd been asked by the police to help this man move his camper that had missed the slip. So I got up there, I was helping him move some stuff, find his phone, move the camper, and I said, like, man, it was lucky your camper missed all that. And then 10 minutes later found out he was the husband of one of the missing. And I don't know, he probably doesn't remember it, but that's going to stick with me forever. And it's something so simple, just not knowing the stuff behind it. But I'm trying to come to terms with, he probably didn't even think about it, but if he did, and he hears this, I am sorry that happened. But it's a rough one. Way to bring the vibe down.
It is those.
Sometimes you don't think about the small things that you say that have massive impacts on other people. But at the end of the day,
but
we
also
make mistakes.
Encouragement, and that's it, right? We all make mistakes. Encouragement is human, right? You were human. I think it's better than, I think sometimes in those moments I go robot. I go like, don't even make eye contact, like I can turn quite robot at times, and I don't like that. Like that's probably something that I really want to change about how I interact with people at jobs is it's helpful at times, but I think it's not human, and that's not what I want. Whereas that, at least I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry that happened too, but
That's right.
it is. At least you were going out and being human with people. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
What a good question, because now you've shared it, and it just makes everyone else think about what they say.
Yeah.
Good to share.
Sure.
And do we have a question for next week's panel?
Oh shit. Come on, Jordan.
Can be serious, can be funny, can be whatever you want.
This is to one person.
Just I'm supposed to ask it at the start of the thing, so.
What's your biggest achievement at the job so far?
Nice.
Since we're going with the dumbest.
yeah.
Just flip it and go the negative.
Yeah.
What's the coolest thing you've achieved?
Cool. I
Hero
like it.
moments.
I like it. With that, I want to respect the fact you guys got kids to pick up, so let's wrap it up there. But thanks so much for you guys' thoughts and inputs. I've learned a heap. Obviously, thanks to Mark for bringing what he brought. I think it's a fantastic presentation. So, thank you.
Cheers.
Cool.
Right.
Cheers,
definitely.
Yeah.
It was almost John Key.